Good morning, afternoon, or evening. My name is Shannon, and today we are going to be going over all of the books I read in November. Now, I do need to preface this with the fact that it's not that many books. It's actually only 7, but I had a very busy month with Thanksgiving, and then there was one week where I painted probably 60 hours out of the week. Anywho, I didn't get too much reading done because of all of this. And so I'm just going to start from the beginning of the month to now. So, the first book I read this month was The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. This is the first book within the Hunger Games universe, so this is a prequel to the actual trilogy, and it goes into Snow's backstory, his origin story, and it goes along the story of the 10th Hunger Games, and it's very, very good to see his de-evolution throughout the book. I rated it 3.5 stars just because I felt that the ending was very rushed. Like, the last 15 pages, you could have made it 30, but I still really enjoyed it, and I would recommend it. Next, I've read The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. This book was so good. This is the start of... I don't even know what this series is called. I have no idea. I've just heard people call it the Cruel Prince trilogy, so that's what I'm gonna call it. But this is the first book, and it is about Jude. And Jude was taken from her home when she was very young, and her parents were killed because her oldest sister is actually the daughter of one of the fairies. And so he sees it that this woman's other 2 children that are human are also his responsibility, so he takes them when he kills their parents. And it flashes forward to, I think, where she's 17, and she has a really, really big rivalry with Cardan. Cardan is one of the princes of the king of the Fairylands, and they hate each other. More distinctly, he hates her, and he and his friends make it a point to kind of bully her. And she has had this pretty lifelong goal now to become a soldier or a knight, and things just get so complicated, so good. There are so many twists and turns and betrayals, and it's just such a good book. However, because of the amount of twists and turns it had, it honestly kind of gave me a little bit of whiplash. And that is why I haven't started The Wicked King or The Queen of Nothing yet, because I was giving myself time. Because I find that now I'm older, I do not like when we are jerked around so much as an audience. I like things to be in nice, neat little packages, and I understand the purpose of the twists and turns. It just gets so dramatic sometimes, but I still really enjoyed it. I would give it a 4 stars. Next, I read Long Shot by Kennedy Ryan. This book, I actually read this on my Kindle, but before I even talk about the plot of this book, I need to give a massive trigger warning that this book is incredibly dark and very, I don't want to say graphic, but it definitely gets more graphic than I would have thought it does. And I'm going to equate this book to something, and I want you to take it with a pretty big grain of salt for what I'm about to say. If you've read The Cat and Mouse Duet, which is Haunting and Hunting Adeline, the second book in that duology, the first half is brutal. It's incredibly hard to stomach and hard to read. And the beginning, like the first half of this book, was kind of that way for me as well. And it gave me the same feeling of wanting to skip to the part where what is happening is over. so that I can see her with August. Anywho, this book is about Iris and August. Iris, they meet, I believe they're both in their senior year of college and they're about to graduate, and August is a really big deal in basketball. He's about to get drafted for the NBA. So is his rival, who happens to be Iris's boyfriend. And Iris and August meet one night in a bar when they both just needed some air, and they end up connecting on such a soulmate level. But then right when their night's about to end, he tries to kiss her and she's like, I have a boyfriend. And the next day at a really important basketball game, he finds out it's his rival that she is dating, and a sort of obsession begins for August with Iris, and he can't get her off his mind and thinks about her all the time for years. And meanwhile, Iris is in a really, really bad situation with her boyfriend, and she does end up getting out of it and finds comfort in August. But the first half of this book, I'm not gonna lie, it's hard to stomach sometimes. And I just want all of you to be very aware of that if you go into reading this book. But that being said, I gave it 3 stars. And it was good. The romance between Iris and August was good. It's a soulmate level connection. But I have very big drawbacks about the first half of this book. But yeah, 3 stars. Next, I read this book last month as well, but I was rereading some of my favorite parts, and it starts at the beginning for my favorite parts in this book, and I ended up just reading the whole book through again. And that book is Keeping 13. This is the second in the Boys of Tommen series. The first is Binding 13. I also love that book an incredible amount. Most of these romances are interconnected, standalones, but the first 4 books in the series are divvied up into 2 duologies. So it's Binding and Keeping 13 are about the same couple, and then Saving and Redeeming 6 is about the same couple. But this duology revolves around Johnny and Shannon, and Shannon has just transferred to Tommen College, and this series is based in Ireland, so when I say college, they're like high school age, and she gets kind of off to a rough start with Johnny. He accidentally hits her in the head with a rugby ball, and since that encounter, Johnny feels an overwhelming urge to take care of her and watch over her, and it's such a good story. And meanwhile, Shannon has a really, really rough home life, and that can be kind of hard to stomach as well, but I found a lot of comfort from it being described so accurately, and like not just how the abuse is described, but the feeling of like knowing when it's going to be an off day in your household. I thought that was really well articulated and done really well. This being the second in the duology, I have kind of only given you the description of the first book, but the first book is 5 stars. This book is 4.75 stars. It's honestly like 4.99 stars because it's so close to 5 stars, but this book drags a little bit, just a little bit, more than I felt it needed to. And otherwise it's perfect. But I really, really enjoyed this book the second time around, and I just love this book so much. The last 3 books I have to show you, I actually finished yesterday because I wanted to film my December wrap-up yesterday, which was November 30th. Today I'm filming this on the 1st. And I decided that I wanted to finish the series first, and then I can film a recap video where I can include all 3. So, I read the Hunger Games trilogy again. I literally read this series in 3 days. I'm sure you all know what this series is about at this point, but it was so much fun rereading this from the lens I have now as opposed to 10 years ago when I was 12. It's just so interesting how much more I appreciate this series. But it's so good. And I don't even know what to say. I'm currently in the middle of filming a reading vlog, and you'll definitely see my thoughts on these books. I didn't include too many updates because I didn't want to spoil it for anyone that hasn't read it, but it's so good and I love Peeta so much. Literally so much. I literally got emotional when I talked about this last night when I finished Mockingjay, but it's amazing to see them finally get their happy ever after with everything that has happened to them. I literally love them so much. I don't even know what to say. If for some reason you haven't read this series, I would highly, highly, highly recommend it. It's outstanding. It's and there are not enough words to use to describe the love I have for this series. But this book I rated 4 stars. This book I rated 4.75 stars. This book I rated 4.75 stars. I love them so much. They are my babies. I would protect Peeta with everything I have if it came down to it. I realize I'm sounding incredibly dramatic, but he's just such a sweet soul. Anywho, those are the few books I read this month. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. All my social media is linked down below for you guys. I hope you all are having an absolutely wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!